Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, this is Vegas Nation Blitz. Presented by D&R House of Diamonds, making luxury affordable. Located in the One Summerlin building in downtown Summerlin.
Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome into our first Vegas Nation Blitz of 2023. I'm your host, Cassie Soto, and I hope you had a very safe and happy holiday season. The Raiders, unfortunately, started off the new year with an overtime loss to the 49ers on Sunday, falling 37-34 in quarterback Jarrett Stidham's first career start. Before we get to this game, we here at Vegas Nation just want to take a moment to send our thoughts and prayers to Bills safety Damar Hamlin, who suffered a cardiac arrest following a hit in Buffalo's Monday Night Football game versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Vegas Nation's Heidi Fang and Adam Hill will bring us more on this injury and how it affected the Raiders organization and the league as a whole, really, in just a little bit. But for now, we will get to the Silver and Black's New Year's Day loss, starting with our top stories brought to you by Capriati's. Make your game day extraordinary with Capriati's. Order now. Las Vegas Review-Journal sports columnist Sam Gordon here with me now. Sam, of course, the Raiders ultimately lost this game on Sunday, but there was something different about this one, Sam, a different feeling entirely, especially when we got into the locker room. Of course, this was quarterback Jarrett Stidham's first career start. What did you make of how this team was able to come together and almost win this thing on Sunday versus the 49ers?
Well, first and foremost, Cassie, I think it's a credit to Josh McDaniels for having his ball club ready to go, right? I mean, we knew that the Raiders' playoff odds were slim. They were going to have to beat San Francisco, beat Kansas City, and and have a bunch of other things happen. So I really felt like the team played with like a loose demeanor to it, and it felt like the Raiders, for maybe one of the only times this season, were having fun. And as a result, you saw them push the NFC, the best team in the NFC to the absolute brink, and it required, I think, a fantastic effort from the Niners in order to pull that thing out. So I was super impressed, and you got that vibe afterwards too, that this was a different, like you said, a different feeling. I think the team was relaxed. They had fun, and you saw what that outcome looked like as a result. So not a ton to play for, obviously, this week, but we saw that the Raiders are capable of putting together a complete effort and having a good time doing it, and I think that bodes well for how Josh McDaniels and his ball club want to finish this season.
Well, specifically, what did you make of Jarrett Stidham's performance on Sunday, Sam? 365 yards through the air, another 34 on the ground, 3 TDs, 2 interceptions, of course. But what did you make of his first career start with the Silver and Black?
Yeah, I really don't think it could have gone any better, Cassie. He played well enough to win, right? He didn't win, but he played well enough to win. And what I was most impressed by was just his feel for and presence in the pocket. He really navigated and moved his way around the pocket. I thought he did a really good job feeling pressure. The Niners have one of the best pass rushes in the NFL and weren't able to get to him. Now, they did make a couple plays, their defensive front, like you mentioned, on those 2 interceptions. But overall, all things considered, he was fantastic. And you really got the sense that his teammates, the fellow superstars on the offensive side of the ball, Davante Adams, Josh Jacobs, helped lead a rally around him and facilitate a rally around him. Davante Adams, again, was fantastic. And it really helps a young quarterback when you have playmakers around you like that. So he really couldn't have played any better. I think showcased a little bit of everything and certainly makes it a conversation about what his future might look like here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, you mentioned Davante Adams, of course, doing Davante Adams things, making catches that I still don't believe that happened. Of course, they're in that game on Sunday, and he really outdid himself, beating the franchise record for most receiving yards in a single season. Of course, taking that record from legendary Hall of Famer Tim Brown. Again, when you look at this season for Davante Adams, of course, he's had a stellar career thus far. He's made another Pro Bowl. What have you made of his time with the Raiders? We know he came over here because of his longtime best friend, Derek Carr, but now being able to make that connection that we saw on Sunday with Jarrett Stidham.
Davante Adams is a pro's pro, and we are watching an all-time great in the middle of his prime in real time. He shifts from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr to Jarrett Stidham seamlessly and still remains dominant and productive, right? I mean, every quarterback he plays with now, he's proven to produce. And I think when you, Cassie, when you have a young quarterback like Stidham making his first start, it emboldens you as a player to have somebody that great on the perimeter. And I think their connection developed over the course of the game. And what Jarrett Stidham really did more than anything, I think we saw a great example of that in the fourth quarter on that diving reception where Davante Adams actually broke the record, as he gave Davante Adams, he gave his playmaker a chance to make great plays. And that's what Davante Adams did. And again, to credit Jarrett Stidham, he did a lot of extending plays on their second touchdown. That was a byproduct of him extending the play and Davante Adams knowing what he needed at that time. So a historic season for Adams, despite the team's struggles, and really goes to show you that the standards that he sets for himself in this league. That's why he's an all-time great, one of the best receivers of the modern era. And he played that this season as such, another stellar year for number 17.
Well, last one for you, Sam. We can't end this segment without talking about Derek Carr. Really, David Carr, his brother. The NFL Network analyst took to the airwaves on Monday to defend his brother after the Raiders announced that they would be benching Derek Carr for the remainder of the season. What can you tell us about this situation?
Yeah, of course, there's two sides to this, right? We heard from Josh McDaniels, and we have an understanding of why the Raiders moved on. It makes sense from their perspective. And I think when you listen to what David Carr says, he has a point. There's another lens to look at this through, and that's the fact that Derek Carr was a model of durability. He was durable, he was available, and he weathered a storm through a really rocky 9-year period for the franchise in which there was a lot of instability. We talk about all the head coaches, the coordinators, the GMs he had to work with. He remained a professional. And so for David Carr to come out in support of his brother and to take issue with the way the organization handled it, I think it makes sense, especially given that this new regime is here in their first year and are making prominent decisions about a player that put a lot on the line for this organization. So there's two sides to every story, but this is a game that is built on emotion, and there are emotions in play and relationships in play. And I think that's more what David Carr was speaking about. So we'll see how that plays forward and how that plays out moving forward. I think Derek Carr will have a number of suitors this offseason as the Raiders elect to move on, and we'll just have to monitor how that goes as we finish up the 2022 regular season here as playoffs approach.
Around the League, brought to you by South Point Sportsbook. Download the app at southpointsports.com. After tragedy struck on Monday Night Football, the NFL community was left devastated following what happened with Damar Hamlin, his collapse, subsequent cardiac arrest. But Adam, in light of this, what we learned is that the NFL has many procedures in place to assist, to help, to get a player under extraordinary circumstances that had happened, the treatment that is needed. But Adam, with knowing that the NFL has all of these policies and procedures in place to be able to come through in a situation like this, what did we learn when we were able to actually tour Allegiant Stadium about how the NFL handles these policies as well as the teams?
One of the things we saw in action on Monday Night Football was that the procedures that the NFL has worked so hard to put in place, the medical personnel that are on site, their plan worked. There was people there to take care of them right away. They performed CPR. They had all the life-saving equipment that they needed in place. And that's years and years of planning, really, for all these stadiums. Now, in Allegiant Stadium in particular, which is the same around most stadiums around the NFL, a medical staff of 30 people are in place. There's internal medicine doctors, there's orthopedic doctors, even a dentist, an eye doctor are on site. In addition to the x-ray technicians, everyone that you could possibly need is on site. And, you know, this is time of the time of that this has been planned is years and years. And, you know, the NFL has put a lot of care into this to make sure that this is there. There's planning meetings the day before a game. There's planning meetings the day of a game to make sure even the simplest thing of, hey, if somebody needs to run to a pharmacy because there's a medication, where's the closest pharmacy? Who's the contact there? All of those details are worked out. And the hope is that you never have to use them, that you never have to put them in place, that you never see that in action. But we saw in Cincinnati it was, and it worked. And I think that was something that the NFL can, you know, while they're trying to figure out what is going to happen and what the end result is, and everybody's hoping and praying that it works out, I think the NFL can be proud of the fact that they had a plan in place to give him a chance at least.
We learned that they also have a transfer of medical information that happens. How does that exactly work so that people can understand how that falls into place as well when a player is transported from one place to the next?
Just like with an insurance company or a doctor's office that you would go to, that the league has everything on file in electronic form so that everybody that's there, everybody that has anything to do with the medical team, anybody that needs to see information has the most up-to-date information on all the players. It's all electronic. When a player changes teams, it goes with him, so that it's all on file electronically for everybody to just be up to date. And hey, look, it's as simple as in the off season, you have a baseline of, hey, this is what his knee looks like, this is what his ankle looks like, those sort of things, and then you have the heart scans, just very easy for the medical doctors and the personnel to share that kind of information. And then it also travels with the players when they're done.
And now let's take a moment to hear from the Raiders players as they react to what happened to Damar Hamlin on the field with Monday Night Football.
Yeah, he was part of the reason why I even chose to go to Pitt. Like, he was one of the first people to reach out to me when I kind of jumped in the portal, and we kind of developed a friendship after that. And that throughout that whole year, like, he welcomed me into the kind of Pitt family, and I mean, he kind of made sure I was good while I was out there and comfortable. So, yeah, we developed a nice little friendship, and I mean, he's a great guy. It's tough to see what he's going through right now, but I mean, we're praying for him to be okay. So.
Sam Gordon on behalf of Vegas Nation with the 18th and final injury brief of the 2022 season. Raiders, relatively good health, all things considered. It has been a long year, but quarterback Jarrett Stidham, who was limited on Tuesday with an elbow, was listed as a right elbow designation. He returned in full, as did Davante Adams, who was limited on Tuesday with an illness. He also returned in full on Wednesday, and not many other designations. Linebacker Darian Butler did not participate on Tuesday with a concussion, but was back on Wednesday on a limited basis. Punter A.J. Cole, also a full participant after being limited on Tuesday with an illness, and Josh Jacobs missed practice on Wednesday. He was excused with a personal situation. So, of course, the Raiders want to finish on a good note. For more news and updates, go to VegasNation.com. Follow @VegasNation on Twitter. I'm Sam Gordon with the Week 18 injury brief.
DNR House of Diamonds is Las Vegas's elite private office jeweler, the perfect bridge between internet pricing and a traditional brick-and-mortar jewelry store. We specialize in loose diamonds, natural and lab-grown, engagement rings, fashion jewelry, custom design, and jewelry repairs. We operate by appointment in our beautiful offices in the One Summerlin building, downtown Summerlin. Our great relationships with the world's largest diamond wholesalers and our low overhead saves you hundreds, if not thousands, on your purchase.
With Capriotti's, game day is always extraordinary. Fuel your passion with our award-winning cheesesteaks, in-house oven-roasted turkey, and classic subs. Or create a fan frenzy with our catering trays that are perfect for any crew. At Capriotti's, we deliver extraordinary to you.
The only thing on my mind really is, spending this last week with these guys. The locker room gonna look a lot different next year, and you don't know who's coming back, and who's done with football and whatnot. So I'm just trying to enjoy this time.
Cassie Soto back with you, and I am joined by Las Vegas Review-Journal sports columnist Ed Graney. Ed, that of course was Raiders running back Josh Jacobs, and after hearing what he had to say, and more so the tone that he said it in, that he's just trying to enjoy this last week with guys that may or may not be in this locker room next year, what did you just make of that and how Jacobs said what he said, and does that sound to you like someone who is going to be back or wants to be back with this organization next year?
I think it's the opposite. I think he wants to be back and will be back, but he knows it's the NFL, and he knows that means rosters change on a yearly basis. They have not had a good season. They're going to finish either 6-11 or 7-10. It has not been what he planned. He's probably going to win the rushing title. So I think there's a great chance he's back, but he also knows as he looks around the locker room, look, when you're 6-11 or 7-10, not everyone's coming back. That's just the reality of the situation in the NFL. If you want to win and you have that kind of record, you're going to have to get rid of some guys and sign some new ones, draft some new ones. There's going to be new faces in the locker room. So I think what he most meant was enjoy this group as long as you can, go through the last few weeks and know what's going to happen because you're in the NFL. But I actually think he's going to come back. I think they're going to bring him back. And I think if they didn't bring him back, they might have an issue in the locker room. I don't know how you can't bring a guy back who's going to lead the league in rushing, who's that well liked in a locker room, who plays hurt, and who does everything he can to be a good soldier on that team.
Yeah, Ed. Well, following that up, we know this team is officially eliminated from the playoff race. So what does this final home game, of course, against a AFC West rival in the Kansas City Chiefs, what does it mean for these players, for this staff, for this organization as a whole? Is this maybe a final test run, if you will, for Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels to take a look at guys who are maybe on the bubble of if they want to bring them back or not next season?
Yeah, it's an opportunity to put yourself on film, right? I mean, whether you're coming back with the Raiders or someone else, you always want to put your best stuff on film so other teams can see that. It's also about pride. Let's be honest. They've not done well against the Chiefs. I just did some research on Pat Mahomes. He's 8-1 all time against the Raiders. He's thrown for almost 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. It's like a video game when Patrick Mahomes plays the Raiders. So you got to have some kind of pride in yourself to try to slow that down, try to stop that, and get a win against these guys, even though it's not going to mean anything in the big picture for you. It might mean something for the Chiefs in terms of losing their seeding and getting a worse seed. So they're going to show up playing for the seed. But it's mostly about pride, Cassie. It's the last game. It's the last game of the season. They know they're out of the playoffs, and you go out there and you play hard. You never want to put a lack of effort on film. You always want to put your best effort on film. So that's what a lot of these guys do. And when they play, when they're out of the playoffs, that's what they play for in case they're in that situation, like you said, where they're not going to come back to this team, but they want other teams to see how they play.
Thank you as always for tuning in to another episode of Vegas Nation Blitz. For all of your Raiders news and updates, you can head on over to vegasnation.com. For our entire crew, I'm Cassie Soto. We'll see you soon.
Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, this is Vegas Nation Blitz. Presented by D&R House of Diamonds, making luxury affordable. Located in the One Summerlin building in downtown Summerlin.